This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and you're listening to Python's Paradise, your film and music show. And this is awesome because, folks, I have my fourth guest on the phone from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. And that film is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Can't believe it's been 30 years. I would have been 14 when that film came out in 1986. My older brother, I believe, saw it at the drive-in. We don't have drive-ins here anymore, but I certainly remember them because I was there a lot. My older brother saw it at the drive-in. I did not see it at the drive-in. But I've had the pleasure of having Tom Mclaughlin on here. I've had Nancy Mclaughlin on here. I love Nancy. And I've had Tom Matthews on here. And now, folks, I have the good girl on here. We have Paula. We have Kerry Noonan, the lovely and beautiful Kerry Noonan. Hi, Kerry.
Hi, how are you?
I'm grateful to have you on here. I gotta bring this up. You are a professor now.
I am a professor now.
So that's So that's what Paula did after.
Yes, I guess she did. I'll only know she didn't because she got, pureed to death by Jason. But there you go.
I gotta wonder. Did you guys ever hire Tom Fridley to teach at the college?
No, we never did. Tom was really fun, though.
Just think of the course he could have teach. He could stand in front of the class with a bunch of rocks on the desk and say, "This is how you know where they go places." And then he knocks them over and say, "That'll be on the final, the pop quiz tomorrow."
That would be fun.
I could see that. Guarantee if he hears this, he's going to form an idea. Well, Kerry, before we get to Jason Lives, I got something. Talk about a small world. I had another interview back in August that I didn't know connected with you until recently.
Huh. Who was it?
Well, I'll go bring that up. I interviewed a musician, and he, I got him through his manager, and his manager, of course, represents a Canadian actress that I encountered him through, and he's been sending me a lot of his clientele, and he sent me a guy named Peter Foldy. You know him?
I don't know if I know him. How do I know him?
You don't know Peter Foldy?
I don't know. Give me a hint.
Oh. Okay, Kerry. He told me, in addition to, he sent me his latest CD, and he told me that he also directed films. And one of the films that he directed, which we talked about, was called Hot Moves.
Oh, my God. That's the one I've tried to forget my whole life. No wonder I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I saw it online, and I recognized a certain Wendy.
Yeah.
I reckon
that was my first film. I guess everybody has to do a stupid teenage sex comedy and a horror movie, and that was the first one I got to do. I was wildly embarrassed. I went to the screening with my then boyfriend and my dad. And there were all these naked women and stuff in it, and I was just, turning red as can be because I was in my early 20s. So I honestly, and I'm sorry to say this, but I am going to admit that I dropped it off my resume as soon as I got another film.
Well, you didn't do anything bad in it. You were clean.
Yeah, I know. But it was sort of it was sort of a Porky's ripoff of a Porky's ripoff, kind of.
Yeah? Oh, gee, and you forgot the director, and I had him on here.
You know what? I don't. You know what? If you had, I would never have guessed it. I had no memory of what his name was, and I don't even know if I could have picked him out of a lineup. I'm so sorry. Tell him I apologize.
Well, he was a good interview, and he had done several films, but he mainly does music now, and he sent me his latest CD, and he signed it, and he had good stuff to say, and he he enjoyed working on hot moves, but I think he's mainly into his music now. But like I said, I just thought it was funny that I watched it and I recognized you, and I had to look it up on the internet to find out how do I know that girl, because your hair wasn't the reddish auburn color like it is in Jason Lives.
Well, the only thing I honestly truly remember about that movie is saying to the costumer, I think she would wear a one-piece, and I brought in my own one-piece bathing suit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was one of those out there films. I mean, one of the first images of the movie was this girl drops her ice cream on this guy's crotch laying on the beach.
Look, we don't have to even go there. I remember.
I was like, gee, Peter.
I think Jill Sholin was the star of it, and she was very nice. But yeah, I think with that first scene, that's when I was sitting between my father and my then boyfriend, and I just kind of, slunk down in my seat.
Well, then you went on to play in Jason Lives, and I gotta say, I loved Paula.
Aw.
Yeah, and I always thought that the good girls were supposed to survive these movies, and yet you didn't.
Well, the interesting thing is, with Tom McLaughlin's script, I really liked the script. I thought it was smart and funny as well as scary. I thought he did a great job kind of doing something that nobody had done up to that point. This was even pre-Scream, where he was sort of making fun of the genre while being in the genre. So I thought it was a really smart script, and I had such a fun time doing it. But Tom broke a lot of genre conventions with that film, because in the prior Friday the 13th, the counselors had sex and did drugs, and then they were killed. It was sort of like a very harsh morality play in a way. But in ours, we just got killed for no reason, really. So I was because none of us were doing anything particularly bad. So yeah, I was the nice one, and I because I was one of the nice ones, I wasn't the love interest, I wasn't the main character, but because I was nice, I was the last of the counselors to die, which, as an actress, it made it fun because I got to do some fun scenes with the little girl, and, I got some more screen time. But I remember talking to Tom at the time when we were shooting my death scene, and everybody else had body parts. Everybody was working with the special effects groups, and they had, fake heads and fake arms and whatnot. And I didn't get any of that. And I looked, and they used 30 buckets of stage blood to splash around the cabin after my death. And I looked at Tom and I said, what, did he puree me? Where's my body? Am I in the sequel? I don't have a body. But I guess he just sort of, pureed me to death.
Well, you know what? I got to say, between you and Jason, you make horrible interior decorators.
It was funny because CJ, there were actually two Jasons in our film. I wasn't on set when the first one was there, but they only shot with him for a little bit of time, and then Tom was happier with what CJ Graham was doing, and he was a bouncer at a bar. I mean, he wasn't an actor at that time, so I had to explain to him, because we've been sort of hanging out for a while on the set, being friends, all of us. And I had to explain to him on the night that we were shooting my death scene, I said, CJ, please, I don't want you to talk to me or hang around me in between shots, because I really want to be scared of you. I want to think of you as Jason, not as CJ. And he looked at me and he said, what? And I said, CJ, just don't talk to me in between the shots, because I just want to be scared. I want to think of you as Jason. And he didn't really understand what I meant. So finally I just said, just don't talk to me. And I'm sure he thought that I was, some diva or something.
Oh, gee. Yeah, you had that was quite a nasty death scene, I mean, you open that door, the first time the door opens, you kind of catch yourself, and there's nothing there. Then you go to close the door, and then he comes in there, and all you hear, I have to say, I feel so bad when your character's killed off.
Aw, thank you so much. I actually love it that I get a fake out in that scene. I get a couple of fake outs in that last scene, but the door is the best one. And when we had the cast and crew screening, I took my sister, because quite honestly, I don't like slasher films, and I had never seen any of the prior Friday the 13th. So when I went for the audition, I called up my sister, who loves them, and I said, okay, you have to tell me what is the storyline of this thing? And so she came down to Georgia where we were shooting for a weekend. She spent Easter with me down there. But then I took her to the casting crew screening. And just as we were coming up to that scene in the cabin with the fake out with the door and everything, she leans over to me and she said, "This is the moment I've been waiting for my whole life."
You want me to tell you something?
What?
I thought you were the cutest of the females in the movie.
Aw, thank you so much.
Yeah, I did. And I know everybody loves Jennifer Cook. I hear everybody loves the blonde, but I gotta say, I loved your complexion. I loved your red hair.
Aw,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
It's the Irish part of me.
The Irish part, yep. But
funnily enough, years later, I did a very small part on Days of Our Lives, and Renee Jones, who played my cabin mate, she had a regular part on Days of Our Lives, and she wasn't working that day, so they put me in her dressing room. And so I wrote her a little note, and I said, "It's your roomie from Camp Blood."
Yeah, and Friday the 13th, she had a rather head-turning experience.
Yes, that's what I meant. She got a fake head. I didn't.
I wonder if she got to take that home with her.
I have no idea.
Well, I hear these stories about Joe Spinell from the movie Maniac. He actually got to keep his fake head.
That would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm coughing. One of the things, I don't know if Tom told you, but a lot of people on the crew, a lot of the sort of underlings on the crew were pretty young. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And they started joking around sometimes with certain shots that he had to then edit out. But the running joke was to put a rubber chicken in a bunch of scenes. And so, you know that scene where Renee's headless body is draped over Jason's shoulder and he's walking by the windows?
Okay.
During one of the takes, one of the crew guys put a rubber chicken instead of Renee's body. So Jason was walking with the rubber chicken. And the rubber chicken showed up in some other shots, like when Lizbeth, played by Nancy McLaughlin, when she opens when they open the glove box in their car and they're getting the gun out. For one take, it was a rubber chicken instead of a gun.
I never heard this.
Oh, yeah. And there's even a scene, if you look really carefully, at the very end where Megan is crying and looking towards where Tommy is fighting Jason in the lake, and the kids are all around her, and there's shadows of leaves in front of her. And those shadows, in many movies, they're made by men standing there holding branches in front of the lights and making the shadow.
Okay.
And if you look, one of them, kind of low down on her abdomen, is the shadow of a rubber chicken, along with the other leaves and things. So if you look really hard, you can see the only rubber chicken left in the movie.
Well, I gotta say, Tom McLaughlin, I had him on here back in July, and it was interesting because back in the mid-90s, I actually wrote to him and I received a handwritten letter back from him. And I actually asked him about you in the handwritten when I wrote him.
Aw.
Yeah, he said that you, at the time, this would have been, I think, 94-ish or something like that. He said you were doing theater in Hollywood there at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did theater in Hollywood with the theater company for a long time, and I did some small parts in TV, and I also did some professional theater, and I was also playing in an Irish band at the time. One of my bandmates was Tate Donovan, who did the voice of Hercules in the Disney movie, and he also used to date Jennifer Aniston. So we had an Irish band, and Tom McLaughlin sometimes would hire our band to play his St. Patrick's Day parties. He always had really good St. Patrick's Day parties. My now husband was the rival Irish band in town. He was the barroom player, and he also got hired by Tommy to play his St. Patrick's Day party sometimes.
Wow. Yeah, well, Tom, I had him on here. I actually read the letter to him on when I interviewed him. You know, when he was very happy that I kept that all these years. But
well, he's such a nice guy, and he's a wonderful director, and he's a great director for actors as well as, you know, for the technical side of directing and the visual side. And he's just an all-around nice person.
I like the fact that he brought a lot of humor to Jason Lives.
Yeah. Like I said, I think this was groundbreaking in the horror genre in that it wasn't played entirely for laughs. It's still a horror movie, but he was making fun of the genre as well, with all the shots of, the hamster stuck in the hamster wheel and the kids reading Jean-Paul Sartre's No Exit, and the little boys who kind of cynically make some comments about whether they're going to survive, and the guy from the cemetery who looks straight at the camera and says, "Some people have a strange idea of entertainment." So, I think he had that great ability to walk that line between the humor and poking fun at the horror genre and actually making a horror movie.
I loved the paintball scenes too, like Whitney Ryback trying to put the branch back on the tree.
I did too. The crew guys, for a while I was on the set without shooting anything because they were holding me for one scene that was going to be shot indoors in case it rained. So I had a lot of downtime when I was just sort of hanging out on the set and hanging out with the crew guys and with Nancy Mclaughlin. But the crew guys called that scene Pieces of Roy because you find pieces of the character Roy all over the place after Jason gets to him.
Yeah. Too bad he didn't survive, huh?
But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny as well.
And other stuff that Tom brought to it too, like that whole James Bond pre-title opening. It was great.
Well, it's the James Bond opening, which I think is just fabulous. And then also he brings a Frankenstein element to it because the monster is brought to life by the lightning bolt.
Yep.
And it's in his movie that Jason really becomes what it called him in one of my favorite stage directions in the script, which was the undead super killer.
Yep.
He becomes a monster rather than a deranged person.
And he first kills Ron Palillo, of all people.
I know. I was too shy to say hi to him. I think I overlapped with him one day, but I had grown up watching Welcome Back, Kotter, so I couldn't say hi to him. I was too shy.
Well, I think it's funny. He says, "My heart can't take any more of it," and he ends up getting his heart punched out.
Well, exactly. That's Tom all over the place.
But another thing, too, that Tom McLaughlin brought to it, too, was a car chase. You never had that in a Friday film before.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't know because I've never seen any of the other ones. But yeah, no, he had the car chase. I think he did a great job, and he made the characters very human.
Yep.
Which is what appealed to me about the script. They weren't just cardboard cutouts. They were living, breathing people who you could relate to.
Yeah, and I love that shot of Jason coming up out of the RV after it crashes there.
Oh, that's an epic shot. I love it when he's standing up there. That's the epic moment in the whole film, I think. And the fact that, I think my sister, I don't know if she was prouder of me that I was in a horror movie or prouder that I was in an Alice Cooper MTV video because, he did the theme song for us, and for the video on MTV, they interspersed it with some shots from the movie, and I'm in one of those shots. And so, woohoo, I was in an Alice Cooper video.
I got that album, too, Constrictor, that's got He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask on it. Great CD. I like every song on it.
Yay.
Yeah. If I could, evidently, that same year, he had a song on that CD called The Great American Success Story. That was, I heard that was supposed to play on the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, wow.
That came out the same year as Jason Lives. It would have been cool if he had 2 songs on 2 hit movies that year.
Well, I think he had 2 songs in our movie because there was the He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask, and there was also Teenage Frankenstein.
Yep, Teenage Frankenstein was in it too. Yeah, when they were going bump in the night.
I have to admit, because it was the first kind of sort of big movie that I did. I lived near Westwood because I had gone to UCLA, and in Westwood there's a lot of movie theaters that young people go to. So I went to go see it with ordinary people, and I loved the reaction everyone was giving to all the fake outs in my death scene. And then when I walked out, not one single person recognized me. So that was my one chance to be recognized by crowds, but nobody cared.
I would have loved to have met you. I gotta say, I had a favorite female in every movie. You were my favorite in Jason Lives.
Oh, thank you. Apparently, occasionally I look at some of the fan sites, and apparently some other people feel that way too, which always warms my heart because I was fond of Paula. I thought she was a good character.
Paula had heart, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, she wasn't off go bump in the night as the Tom Fridley character was going, you know.
She was conscientious, concerned, and taking care of the little girl.
Yeah, but
yeah. For a while, I had an interesting pattern of being cast in things because I was lucky enough to do I had the lead in an episode of the new Twilight Zone, and I played a Puritan girl who was in contact with the boy in the press, and bad things happened. But so I was this Puritan girl, and then the next job I got was I was killed by a mass murderer with a machete in Friday the 13th. Then I got I did a Mr. Belvedere where I played an Amish girl, and the next job I got was in a play in Los Angeles playing opposite Sean Cassidy, where he kills me with a machete. He was a mass murderer. And then I had some other parts and some other things went on. And then around 1990, I got cast as a recurring small part as a born-again Christian woman in Knots Landing. And then the next job I got was in Nightmare on the 13th Floor, where I was killed by a mass murderer, but this time with an axe.
Oh, wow. I come from a Christian household, so I was brought up Christian, so.
It was just this odd sort of thing. It was like Puritan, Amish, born-again Christian. What was going to be next, a nun? I wasn't sure how this pattern was going to go, but then I gave up acting in the mid-'90s because in Hollywood, there's not a whole lot of parts for women in their 30s, and the ones that are there tend to go to women who have already made it really big in their 20s. And I was getting fewer and fewer auditions, and I was working more and more time at my straight job, which I really disliked. I worked at a law firm. Okay. And so I just thought, well, if I'm going to work a straight job and I'm not going to be acting, I don't want to do this. So I decided I wanted to teach. And because I've never been a practical person, I decided to get a PhD in folklore and mythology. So I did that. And then I've been being a professor ever since.
Yeah, some of those emails I got from you, I have a feeling you were behind stacks and stacks of papers.
Oh, you don't even want to know. This week was so horrible. I directed a play at Champlain College where I teach in Vermont. I directed a play this semester, which was wonderful. I had such a great time, but it made me so far behind on my grading that this week, which was finals week, I had like almost 200 assignments that I had to grade. And my deadline was last night, and I barely made it.
Wow. You mentioned you know where I'm from, huh?
You're from one of the Maritimes, right?
Yeah,
New Brunswick, are you?
Yeah, I am. I thought that was interesting because, most of the people I interview don't know where I'm from at all. Because
my grandma is from Prince Edward Island.
Oh, PEI, okay.
And I have a bunch of cousins up there, and my grandpa was from Quebec, and I have a bunch of cousins in Quebec.
You must remember Rainbow Valley then.
And I'm a folklorist, so Memorial University in Newfoundland is one of the big folklore schools. So I do have some knowledge, a little bit, of the Maritimes.
Well, I'm from Fredericton. About the closest we have to celebrities. I always tell my guests it's the Trailer Park Boys. I'm sure you're familiar with them.
That's great. Oh, I actually went when my husband, before he went back to being a professor, he was one of the founding members of the band Gaelic Storm, and they were in the movie Titanic. And so he made his living as a folk musician playing Irish music for years and years. And so one time we were in Milwaukee. They were playing the big Irish festival there, and I was on the little bus for the performers, and my daughter was a baby then, and I was trying to wrangle the baby in the stroller and everything. And Natalie McMaster came up to me, and she said, "Oh, I'll hold the baby." And she was very sweet and held my baby while I set up my stroller.
You know what? I've got a picture of me with Natalie McMaster. She performed here.
I love Natalie McMaster. I think she's wonderful.
You know what? You're the first interviewee I've had on here that even knows who she is, because I had somebody on here that's a music and artist consultant, and it's from Canada, and I was quizzing him about Canadian talent, but he did not know who Natalie was. I kind of get it, because she's not really out there, but...
I get it. Look, I get it's a niche market, but it's my niche market. I'm an Irish musician, not at her level, but everybody who's into Irish music knows who Natalie McMaster is. I mean, she's amazing.
Amazing
she's a superstar
fiddle
within
player.
her niche, you know.
Amazing fiddle player.
She's just fabulous, and she gives such a great show. And I always loved going off to see her shows at the Milwaukee Irish Festival after I'd seen my husband's band shows.
Yeah, well, no, I got a picture with her. I saw her at the Playhouse here years and years ago, and she put on a great show.
Oh yeah, and her kids now, because she's married to he's another Irish musician from the band. Is it Leahy? I think. And their kids are all coming up as fiddle players.
Wow.
Yeah.
And of course, I've mentioned I had Nancy Mclaughlin on here. How much do we love Nancy?
Oh no, she's so wonderful and she's so fun. And after I auditioned for the movie, and when I got it, I was talking to Tom Mclaughlin, and we found out that I was from New Jersey originally, and Nancy was from New Jersey originally. And so he decided that he was going to make our characters sisters. They had not originally been written that way.
Well,
so
you guys kind of looked alike.
Yeah, so he rewrote it so that we were sisters. And during that time that I spoke of, when I was sort of being held for an indoor scene, so I had like a week and a half of doing nothing, I just hung out with Nancy, and we had so much fun because we had to stay on a nighttime schedule. We were in this little town in Georgia, and we were shooting from 6 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning at Hard Labor Creek State Park. And we were not staying in the park. We were staying in this little town of Covington, and our motel was in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't in the middle of town. So there was a bar connected to the motel. They would open it at 8 a.m. for all of us coming off work. Yeah. And so Nancy and I you try and stay on the night schedule because otherwise it kills you. So we would, get up when everyone else was getting up, and we'd hang out. We played a lot of Scrabble. We went bowling in the town, and then we'd go on to the set. We'd have lunch with everyone at the set at midnight, hang out on the set, see what was happening, and then come back and go out afterwards at 8 a.m. in the morning with everybody. But she's just great. She's wonderful. She's positive. She's really talented, and she's just great.
I want to share something with you too, because Nancy did something really special for me. I had her on here, and I had Tom on in July. I had Nancy on here in August, and I'm still in touch with Nancy, and I will bring something up to you because she. Remember the Ice Bucket Challenge last year?
Oh, yes.
Well, after that, there was another charity challenge come up after Robin Williams, unfortunately, left us. Right. And it was called the Doubtfire Face Challenge. Now, suicide and depression are running rampant around here, and I've never been suicidal, but I've had bouts of depression throughout various parts of my life.
That's
and
so
when
hard. I said that's so hard.
It is. And when Robin Williams passed away, another organization come up called Doubtfire Face. And it involved taking a pie in the face and nominating 3 people for awareness for suicide and depression. And I did this, and I sent the nominations out to people I interviewed, and I had a Canadian actress, Elisa Langlois, did this. And I was interviewing Nancy, and I got talking to her about this because she came off very funny to me, like a good sense of humor. So I threw it out to her. And she had said to me that when she was in England on vacation, they were talking about that on the news.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, Nancy accepted the challenge.
Ooh.
Now, when I get up for work, my day job, I set my alarm. I get up at 4 o'clock. I don't have to, but I like to go to work early so I can leave early.
Yeah.
And I got up, and my phone dinged at 4 in the morning. And I thought it was my younger brother asking me to bring something to him that weekend. And it was Nancy's Doubtfire Challenge.
Oh.
And she said, I had a hard time getting this to you. I couldn't figure this and this out. But here it is, and I'm exhausted, gotta go to bed. And I said to her, because I knew she was in L.A., so she's 4 hours behind me. I said, I'm just getting up. And she says, what time is it where you are? But she and I talked about this. Originally, she wanted to get together with the cast of Jason Lives and do this challenge. And unfortunately, she was unable to wrangle anybody, but she did do it.
Oh, that's so great.
And one of the people that she wanted to do it was you.
Oh, wow. Well, I probably would have if I'd known about it.
Well, you can still do it.
So what do you have to do? I know the ice challenge was a lot of ice water.
Well, this one here, you just, what you do is you nominate 3 people for, it's called the Doubtfire Face Challenge, like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right.
And you nominate 3 people, and you take a pie in the face. Yeah. I know when we threw names around about the movie, and I said, would Kerry Noonan do this? And she goes, Kerry would be totally down for it.
And do you ask people to send money to an organization or something?
You can ask people to donate if you want. If people are to donate, I would recommend either the American or the Canadian Foundation of Suicide and Depression Prevention. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But your name was thrown in there. But when she did,
what? I was saying, I know when the book, what was it called, Crystal Lake Memories, came out. We all went to a signing of the book, and there was this whole event of the book release. And Nancy and I hadn't seen each other in a while, and we were there together. There was a cake and everything, and then they had a bunch of us who had been victims. We all had to scream because somebody dressed up as Jason was coming. So we had a really fun time screaming together for old time's sake.
Well, when Nancy did her Doubtfire challenge, she really went all out because she had the Peter Brackey book, she had the coffin that Jason came out of, she had the headstone.
Wow!
She said it took 3 of them to bring that up there, and
I'm sure.
And she had the bed poster, whatever, that she mentioned that you bled all over.
Oh, that's so funny. I loved the wicker furniture in that cabin. It's like no cabin I had ever seen in any kind of actual camp, and a whole lot of us wanted that furniture. I remember going. We all went out and went antiquing one day off that we had, and I got a quilt from about the 1910s, I think, and a watch from about the 1910s, and I brought those home. The quilt is almost in rags now, but I still have the watch. But it was fun exploring that area.
Well, she cleaned the headboard all off. There's no blood on it anymore.
I'm sure she did.
And she didn't take a pie in the face. She took a cake in the face. I guess that was her idea.
Good for her.
But we had talked, and she said she for me and her both, we both love for you to do this.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So I could send you details on that if you'd like.
Yeah, you can send me email it to me.
Yeah, but she nominated some people. I know she was trying to figure people out, but her whole idea, she wanted to get the cast together, and
that would have been so much fun.
Yeah, but I'm glad she did it, and she told me if I get hold of you, send the nomination out to you. So
well, that's great.
Well, there you go. But she had faith. She said she'd do it. Of course she would. She'd know you better than me. And if you still know anybody from the business, throw at least one nomination to somebody from the industry, because we're trying to get the industry involved.
No, I think that'd be great. I've been out of the acting world since 1995, but I have a few friends who are still mostly producing or directing or writing now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll see what I can do.
Well, that would be great. Great. And of course, I've always loved you in this film. So between you and Nancy, I think you both should have survived. You both had that gorgeous red hair.
Thank you. Although, of course, it wouldn't have been as good a movie had we survived. But I tried to argue that I should be in the sequel because you never saw my body parts. And in fact, my agent sent me to audition for the sequel because whenever they had auditions for Friday the 13th. They were always very cagey, and they didn't want people to know that there was a new Friday the 13th coming out, so they would invent a different name for it.
Oh, yeah.
So when Tom was doing it, what I auditioned for was Aladdin Sane, the David Bowie album title. That was the title of the project.
That sounds like Tom.
Yeah. So, so my agent sent me out on this other horror movie, and I'm looking at the sides, and there's Ethan, who's wearing a hockey mask, and he's a killer, and I'm like, So I went into, and it was a casting director that I knew, and I went in and I did the reading, and it was for the next one where there was a psychic girl, and I looked at the casting director, and I said, I don't think you're going to want me for this because I was in the last one. And he and the director looked at each other. They're like, the last what? Like, all innocent. And I'm like, the last Friday the 13th. This is Friday the 13th, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then they admitted that, yes, it was. And so that put me out of the running for that one.
You want me to tell you something funny? If things go according to plan, I'm supposed to have the psychic girl on this show tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, tell her more power to her. She got the part.
Yeah, but I'm going to say, though, you worked with some really interesting people. Like I said, I had Tom Mclaughlin on here.
Mm-hmm.
Not Tom, Tom Mclaughlin.
Yep.
I had Nancy Mclaughlin.
Yep.
Again, we got to say it. Love Nancy.
Yep. And Tom Matthews was fun. He actually was friends with the fiddle player in my old Irish band, Tate Donovan. So they were friends. But Tom was a lovely guy. I didn't really have a whole lot of scenes with him, just like one or two. But he was a really nice guy, very professional, very good, I think.
I had Tom Matthews on here in August, and again, great guy, and I really liked him as Tommy.
Yeah, no, he's a really good actor, and I like him even more because he came to see my Irish band perform a couple times in L.A. in the 90s.
Did he sing?
No, he just came to watch us play.
Yeah, he was a wonderful guest on here as well. I was very happy. Like Tom Mclaughlin probably got. I don't know if anybody else has promoted that film for its 30th anniversary any more than I did. Like I said, you're my fourth from the film. I have heard from C.J. Graham, but I haven't. He hasn't booked anything with me, so I don't know.
I haven't seen him since the movie. I know. When we had the cast and crew screening, he was back being a bouncer at a bar. He was working at this restaurant in Los Angeles, and his boss wouldn't let him off for the night. So we ended up having the cast party at his restaurant.
Yeah, when C.J. Graham as Jason attacked, they must have used a dummy, not you, going out through the window there.
Yeah, no, well, I think it might have been a stunt person. It was done after I left. They added that in.
Okay.
So.
Boy, that was a violent death. That was a violent death scene.
I'm sorry?
That was a violent death scene.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. They decided to make it more violent because what was happening was the studios were looking at the rushes, and they were trying very hard to have it be gory enough to make the teenagers want to see it, but not so gory as to get an R rating, which meant that the teenagers couldn't see it. So basically, most of the death scenes were shot mildly gory, medium gory, and very gory to give Tom editing choices to run it by the studio. And at one point, the studio said that he had to, there wasn't a big enough body count. So I think after one of those kind of phone calls, I think they added that, that being thrown over the windowsill because, I could have done that had I been there, but it wasn't part of the scene when I shot it. And then they added the deaths of the cemetery caretaker and the couple on the moped.
Yeah.
Those were shot in Los Angeles, and they were added so that there would be more bodies because the studio wanted more body count.
It's funny because originally Jason's father was supposed to be at the end of that film.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, according to the Simon Hawke's book, and I spoke to Tom about this, Tom Mclaughlin was telling me originally it was supposed to be Elias Voorhees was paying the caretaker to watch over the graves of Jason and Pamela Voorhees.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's a little bit of trivia, but
there you go.
In the end, I guess Frank Mancuso didn't want to go there with it, and decided, he decided to go a different way with it, but it would have been something interesting to factor in. Yeah, but yeah,
well,
Tom.
I am going to have to go. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you got to take off?
I do.
Well, I was going to ask you briefly about Jennifer Cook, if you can
Sure.
comment before you go.
Absolutely. She was very nice. She had been on a soap opera. At the time, she was considering marrying the guy who was the head of Celestial Seasonings Tea. And I think she ended up marrying him. I don't know. But she was talking a lot about that during the filming. And, she was fun. And, I don't know, she was nice to work with.
Well, you know what? If you do the Doubtfire challenge, throw a nomination out to her, 'cause she was a bad girl in that movie.
I don't think I've spoken to her since 1986. So
you know
I
what?
don't know if I have connection channels to her anymore.
Nobody knows where she is. Even Nancy doesn't know.
I think I don't know if this is true. I think she married Mo, the guy from Celestial Seasonings. I think she gave up acting. I think she's just doing other things with her life now.
Do you think Sheriff Garris approves?
Well, she married a nice, wealthy guy, so I'm sure he was happy for her.
Gotta love David Kagan, too.
Oh, David Kagan's great. He was an acting teacher in L.A. for many, many years. I don't know if he still is.
Yeah, he had some of the best lines in the film. I know that.
And Vinny Gustafaro, who I think is wonderful. And I always love seeing him in movies. And I did see him at the Crystal Lake Memories book release party. That was nice to talk to him. And his wife, Vinny Gustafaro's wife, is the woman who gets killed on the moped.
Oh, that's right. I think Nancy might have mentioned something about that.
Yeah, yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I will send you information on Doubtfire Face. I'm going to send you also her acceptance of the challenge.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, I'll send you her video because her video was great. But
wonderful.
we both threw the challenge out to you, so we'd love it if you took it up. But
I'll see what I can do.
Sure, and I'll send you an address about the picture as well. Before you go, I was just wondering if you would mind doing a plug for my show.
Sure. What do you want me to do?
Just state your name and say you're Paula and Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert. And my show is called Python's Paradise.
Wait 1 second. Python's Paradise.
Yeah, and say in New Brunswick, Canada. You have to say Canada in there because I guess there's a New Brunswick in the States I'm hearing now. So.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I don't travel. I've never been outside New Brunswick, so I don't know where anything is. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So what do you want me to do? Want to do it now?
You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
This is Kerry Noonan, Paula from Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives on Craig Gilbert's Python's Paradise in New Brunswick, Canada.
Well, Kerry, I'm really happy to have you on here. And I got to say, what an honor. And I'm glad you're working. We miss you on the screen. But I guess your students get to see you every day. So do they recognize you?
They don't recognize me because I'm the age of their moms now. But they some of them do Google me. And if they Google me, they find out. And then the word spreads. And then they ask me about it. Somebody here in Burlington, Vermont, had a sort of a commemorative screening of the film because of the 30th anniversary. And so my 14-year-old daughter got to see it for the first time, and that was fun.
What did she think of it?
She thought it was good, only she looked at me and she said, "Mom, it's not scary at all." So...
You know what I find funny? I got Darcy DeBon's on my friends list on Facebook, and for some weird reason, I cannot seem to get her to respond anytime I ask her to come on here.
Well, she may be busy doing other things.
I know she's busy with wildlife conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's busy with that. Do you mind if I send you a friend's invite on Facebook?
You can sure do so.
Yeah, because I've got Nancy, Tom, and I don't have Tom Matthews yet, but I don't think he's on there very much. But I have been corresponding on there. But
all right. Well, I unfortunately have to go pick up my daughter from Irish dance class. So thank you so much. It's been an honor to talk to you. Thank you so much for seeking me out and having me on your show. I really enjoyed talking to you about this, and I wish you all the best.
I wish you the best, too. God bless you, and have a very, very happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you, too, and to all your listeners.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.